The Deep Bridlewood by Comrade Bagel Muffin. Deeper in the forest. Zip walked down the path of the unicorn village with Izzy. It was her third visit to the Bridlewood and her first time being here alone without any of their other friends. All in all, it was an enjoyable trip. The sun was shining through the trees and there was a constant breeze blowing into the wood from the plains. The unicorn residents of the town were much more lively than her first visit, and seemed to be getting more and more so as each day passed.
"Oh no! Jasper, I told you not to throw it so hard!"
One of the colts sat at the edge of the wood.
"I'm sorry, I really thought they'd catch it. I didn't mean to lose your ball, Myrtle,"
Jasper said, trotting to the edge of the town near where the path ended.
"I'll get you and your friends a new ball." "I'm sorry, Myrtle, I tried to catch it, but I just couldn't get my magic around it." "Huh? What's going on?"
Zip asked, walking up behind them. She paused at the scene that was in front of her. In front of her, not even 10 feet away, was the ball in question. But not just that one ball. There were dozens of balls, kites, and even a couple of bicycles.
Is that the lost ball you're talking about?" "Yeah, it's lost now forever." Yeah. Hey, Izzy, could you explain this to me?"
Zip waved Izzy over.
"Why don't say, I don't know, just go over there and get the ball and bring it back?" "Because you can't just walk into the Bridlewood. Nope, sadly that ball is lost forever." "Jinxies?"
Zip asked, raising an eyebrow.
"Well, sure you have jinxies, but that's not all. The wood as well."
Izzy tapped her chin, looking for the word.
"Cursed."
"Terrifying." "Spooky," the foals all offered.
"Yeah, exactly what they said."
Izzy smiled and nodded several times.
"Yeah, every foal is taught at a very early age you never leave the path because the woods will close and there will be no way back."
The foals and even Jasper answered in unison.
"Right, so why don't you just, I don't know, float the ball back?"
The foals looked to each other, then to Jasper, who in turn looked to Izzy. She shrugged.
"I don't know." "Oh, for the love of... It's literally not even 10 feet away."
She started walking.
"Zip, wait, don't leave the path."
She grabbed the foal's ball.
"See, nothing hard about it."
Her eyes widened as she turned around. Izzy, Jasper, and the foals weren't there. The path wasn't there. The entire town wasn't there. All around her was just the forest.
"Crud, well today just got a lot more interesting."
She put the ball in her bag and took off flying as hard as she could into the sky. She broke through the canopy into the sunny blue sky above the forest. Everywhere she looked for as far as she could see there were just trees.
"Okay, well, if it's still morning, then that must be east."
Then she turned around.
"That must be north, relatively, so I need to head that way, I guess."
She started flying. She stayed in the air for what felt like hours until her wings started to feel sore.
"I should have gotten back by now."
She looked up at the sky. The sun, for some reason, hadn't moved. She broke hard, coming to a complete stop.
"Okay, now that's weird. What's going on here?"
"Destiny." She looked around as the word was carried on the wind.
"What?"
She looked around.
"This way."
The wind softly rolled over her.
"This way." "Right, okay, sure, why not?"
She turned around and started gliding after the wind. It took her only a few minutes of gliding before she could see the telltale signs of civilization as the trees thinned out in a large area, and she could almost make out the sight of buildings.
"Alright, I'm finally out."
She flew down hard towards what she thought was Bridlewood, only to break a few moments later. The buildings she was diving towards weren't the same wooden buildings of Bridlewood, but were large stone ruins that maintained a sense of a former regal glory, despite being broken down and covered in vines and weeds.
What is this place?
Harmony, harmony, oh.
Where are you?
She looked around.
Down here!
Zip looked down, pausing as she spotted an elderly unicorn mare.
Hello! I see the forest brought me a visitor. It's nice to see you come down.
Zip slowly descended down to the elderly pink unicorn, who was standing in a small clearing between several large stone columns and plinth of whatever this place used to be.
Hello, I'm Zip. Who are you and what is this place?
She asked as she landed in front of the very elderly mare, who smiled at her as she landed.
I'm Jinxie, and this is my home. Not much of a looker, huh?
She asked with a smile.
I mean, it's a bit of a fixer-upper, but why am I here? Not sure how you got here.
Jinxie waved for Pip to follow her as she led her deeper into the ruins of what had clearly been a palace of some kind. She lived in a palace all her life. She knew the extravagance of one, even if it were in ruins, it still held a regal air to it.
I was getting this ball, and then when I turned around, I was in the middle of the forest. Oh yes, Everfree wanted you to be here, that much is for sure. Everfree?
Zip asked.
The forest. It has always had a mind of its own. I knew something was up when my clock stopped working. I take it that was thanks to you?
She laughed.
That's impressive. We can talk about it in my place. Well, here we are. Whoa.
Zip gawked at a large crystal tree-like house.
That's where you live? Yep. Also, close your mouth. You don't want a Paris Bride flying into your mouth.
Jinxie laughed, walking into the building. As Zip began to walk towards it, the tree began to glow. Jinxie laughed.
You're a special pony for the tree to glow like that. It hasn't done that in, well, a long, long time. Back in the days of my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. What was that? What is that? The Tree of Harmony. And I think it's what brought you here. Come on in. Let's go ask Spike if he's awake.
She walked in. The entire building was made of crystal.
It almost looks like the crystals that were a part of my mom's crown.
Of course it does. This tree is the one that those 3 crystals were taken from.
A voice came from a crystal ball.
I see that the Everfree brought you here. Interesting. I just got done talking to Sunny.
Oh, I think things are going to become very interesting very soon.
Jinxie sat down in a chair.
I guess it's time to give this ponies a talk. What talk?
Zip asked.
And you know Sunny?
I'm an old friend of the family.
The crystal ball answered.
As for the talk, well, you see, Zippy, when a mare and a stallion love each other very much.
Wrong talk, Jinxie.
The elderly mare laughed as Zip just looked at her in stunned shock. I believe that you have a book to give her.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Silly me.
Jinxie got up and moving, slowly grabbed a large book from a display case.
Here you go, Zipper. You and your friends might need this book soon. It was my great. Right, your super grandma's book. But why will we need it and how do I get back?
She asked.
It's a surprise. We can't ruin it. That would be terrible. And don't tell me, but I'll pretend to be surprised. That's not going to work on me, no siree. As for how you get home, just step out the door. The Everfree has given you what it needed to. We look forward to seeing how you and your friends progress.
Zip was stepping out the door. She looked over her shoulder.
Thanks, will I?
She was looking back at a bunch of toys in the forest.
Zip!
The next thing she knew was Izzy on top of her, as were the foals.
What happened? I'm not sure, but I got the ball. Have fun, kids.
She passed the ball to the...
And I got this. Oh my, that sparkle is amazing. What is it? It's a book. It's a bunch of paper with words, but... I know what a book is, but what is this book? I mean, we can go to my house and find out. Yeah, that sounds good.
Zip followed Izzy back to her home, looking one more time over her shoulder to the forest behind her. Hello, once again, this is Common Time as Visual Pony, and once again I will remind you that you can support Pony&Wolf Productions through the links down in the description. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated and helps to keep the lights on around here. Okay, and now let's get into the meat of the story. So I find it very interesting here with the unicorn still having the superstition and that apparently Bridlewood is somewhere in the Everfree. Or at least is in some way connected to the Everfree. Because that's certainly not my headcanon, but okay. I've heard this headcanon from a few people in my friend circle as well, so I'm going to accept it. But, and that is something that I have to criticize. I like the premise of the story. It is mostly written okay. The biggest problem that I see here right now is grammar and formatting. And there are some moments where the punctuation makes it really hard to follow the story. I mean, if you're just a casual reader, that might not put you off. But if you're a narrator like me, that would usually get your story dismissed. Because, let me find the place here. At the end there was one. Silly me. Surprise. Here. Zip was stepping out the door. She looked over her shoulder. There is no comma here. Or a full stop. It's just, Zip was looking over her shoulder. Zip was stepping out the door. She looked over her shoulder. That should be, Zip was stepping out the door. Full stop. She looked over her shoulder. Full stop. Or, to make it sound a little bit nicer, as Zip was stepping out the door, comma, she looked over her shoulder. So I would certainly, I'm not an editor, just saying I have read hundreds of fan fictions by now. I think I am allowed an opinion here. So also the whole dialogue formatting, because sometimes you have dialogue in the middle of a paragraph that we have here, for example. Yep, also close your mouth, you don't want a parasprite flying into your mouth. And then there's normal interaction. Jinxie laughed, walking into the building. As Zip began to walk towards it, comma, the tree began to glow. There's no comma here. And then, instead of making it a new paragraph to be, to distinct it, to make it easier to see that there's dialogue here, you continue with, wah, Jinxie laughed. You're a special pony for the tree to glow like that. That should have been in a new paragraph, just so you can see that there is, dialogue. If you just put it into the middle of a paragraph, especially for a narrator, that is off-putting, because it takes you out of the flow. If we know that there is dialogue coming, we change our pace. But if we're just reading a paragraph, then we have our narration voice going on, basically. Like, to give you an example, if I was reading, she started flying. She stayed in the air for what felt like hours until her wings started to feel sore. And then you have dialogue, like right in the middle there. That throws me off, because then I have to get into the character. That is why, while recording this, I had to stop a few times, because I had to re-record sections, because instead of it being, just simple narration, it was suddenly dialogue. And as I said, for a casual reader, this is maybe okay. I mean, it would still take me out of the story, but for narration, this is not good. I like the premise. Keep up the good work, Comrade Bagel Muffin. but I will give you the same advice I gave in the last story I read of yours. Please go look up the editors group on FimFiction and have them take a look over your work. You have potential here, you have great ideas, but you do need an editor. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and I hope this story finds you well in body and mind.